Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to the Mad Max Minute Podcast, the daily podcast where we break down Mad Max 1 minute at a time. I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 64, which begins with Max turning down Jessie's invitation, and it ends with Jessie walking out to the beach. So, as we were getting to the end of the minute yesterday, Jessie invited Max down to a little beach down by the trees. She wanted him to come along, and first thing this minute, Max says he'd love to, except he's gotta fix the fan belt or they're never gonna be able to leave the farm. And I'm wishing him the best of luck. I really hope this doesn't come back to bite them in some way in the future. I just, we know that Max is really good with cars, and I'm sure he'll fix it up perfectly, and that van will run like gangbusters for the rest of its life. I'm so sure of that. Nothing bad could possibly happen.
My first thought when he was working on the car was, if he had just let the grease rat take a look under the hood, that would have been another pivot point where everything would have been fine. Jessie wouldn't have taken the car down to the ice cream shop to get harassed and, all these things put into play. And the car would have been running perfectly for the rest of the movie. Yeah. Which is also a problem. Although,
that's assuming that the grease rat actually got around to working on the car.
Well, he seems much more interested in the car than the tire. If he can get under the hood, he seems like he'd be a happy guy. But just a tire, that holds no interest for him.
Yeah, the customer service and skills of the grease rat, I'm still a little put off about it. And the fact that he was so much more concerned with socializing than he was with actually getting the work done.
I know.
I mean, a fan belt, that's not too bad,
I don't know the first thing, so I really have no opinion on that.
Yeah, well, it's like a pulley system, and the belt helps drive the fan, which helps cool down the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if the radiator's not working, then the engine's going to overheat. Bad things happen, like you stall out in the middle of the road when you really want to be driving fast. But Jessie is okay with him staying behind and working on the car. She recognizes that this is an important thing. And so she says, "Okay, Tarzan, I'll bring you back some bananas," which is a lovely callback to that one scene by the river when Max had the rope swing and he did that kind of Tarzan yell and swung out into the middle of the river.
Yes.
Right before Jessie cheered no one.
Yes.
Wasted her cheers on deaf ears.
Yes. So Jessie grabs the umbrella, leaning against the table, which also holds the bucket of sand toys.
Yeah, which...
Should Sprog be interested in going to the beach, but Jessie doesn't invite him to the beach.
No. I'm sure he probably would... Well, okay. Assuming that Sprog could talk, he probably would have given some BS response like, "Sorry, Mom, I'm really invested in this ball right now. I just need to invest my time and energy here because it literally just flew out of my hands and is 6 inches away, and I just need to tackle that aspect right now."
Yes. So Jessie heads out to the woods and beyond.
But before she gets too far...
Yeah.
Max calls after her with the classic "Oi."
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to this, and it doesn't sound to me like Mel Gibson yelling "Oi."
Oh, do you think it was ADR or someone else who happened to be on hand when they needed it?
Kind of sounds like it's just the pitch is almost a little off.
Oh.
And it's close, but no cigar. Just seems a little off. And that's a total behind the scenes thing. But yeah, just stuck out to me.
So he calls out to her. She stops, turns back, and he does the crazy about you hand sign.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that doesn't actually say crazy about you.
Yeah. Speaking of callbacks.
Yeah.
So he's doing it, and the way he's doing it, it's slower, it's more deliberate, it's almost like he's trying to remember what he saw, which kind of tells me that he's not really practiced at it.
Do you think that he is doing it solely off of memory of that one time that he saw her do it?
That's exactly what I think is going on.
Okay. I think it's also possible that he did do maybe some research and find out what the motions were and practice them a little bit, but this is the first time that he's done it for her, so he's a little unsure.
Yeah.
So maybe he learned about it, but not to the point of proficiency.
Perhaps. But the thing that keeps me from agreeing with you entirely
Yeah.
is that it is so widely agreed on that she just made that up. I mean, even when we were listening to the crew commentary, they were like, oh, hey, isn't that the stuff that Joanne just made up? And they're like, oh, yeah, that looks exactly like it. But it's slower, and you noted that he's like using the opposite hand that she does.
He's using the opposite hands. The whole thing is mirrored.
Which I guess you could kind of interpret that as like she uses one hand and he uses the complementary hand because they work as one or something like that. They're two halves of one whole. And
I think one of them is left-handed and one of them is right-handed.
That's very valid. Very valid.
But in movie-making world, one of the shots has been flipped.
You think so?
Yes, I think so. I think originally they did it with the same hand in the same direction, and then just aesthetically they needed to flip one of the images, so they did. Which they do in movies all the time, right?
Maybe.
I don't know enough about movie making.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of specific instances where they flipped an image, and nothing's coming to mind, but I'm on the spot, so who knows.
Yeah, I didn't think about that ahead of time in order to Google it.
But one thing I definitely noticed about this instance is that once again we missed the middle portion of it. When we saw Jessie the first time do it, she did the beginning, then we cut to Max, and then we cut back to Jessie. Well, this time we start with Max, we cut over to Jessie, and then we finish up with Max. We never get to see what could be the pivotal middle portion of this made-up hand signal thing.
I'm not so sure there is a middle portion.
Yeah.
Considering that both shots skip the same portion, the middle, maybe there isn't a middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. It's just the amount of time they spend cut away from the person doing the hand motions. I just feel like there's more. Like I almost want there to be more just because.
If this is something that Joanne just made up, it would make sense that they're okay with not showing all of it because it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. She's not actually saying anything.
Right.
So it really doesn't matter either way because she's not saying anything real.
Yeah.
Or if she is, if it does happen to be a series of signs, it's not crazy about you.
Yeah, certainly not. Yeah. But, delving too deeply into things, it's implied in our mandate.
Yes.
Certainly. So, but he does the hand motions, and that makes Jessie smile, and she turns around and continues walking, and then Max goes back to the engine. And the expression on his face after he's done doing the hand motion before he turns back to the car, I wouldn't necessarily say that's an expression of someone who is like, yeah, nailed it. It's more of a, okay, I did the thing. Yeah, it is
a more serious expression.
He just kind of goes back to being just Max.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, okay, back in the engine.
Yep.
But then we get to see Jessie continue walking, and we finally meet May Swaisey, who was mentioned.
I think we've heard her by name twice. Mm-hmm. Last minute and this minute. So we finally get to meet her.
Yeah.
And she's a pretty awesome character.
Yeah. This is actually technically the second time we've seen the actress, because as we mentioned before,
yes,
her hand was given to show Goose's burnt and emaciated state. But no, we finally get to see Sheila Florence in all her glory. And she's sitting there in a rocking chair reading a book out underneath a tree with the dog.
Now, is that Max and Jessie's dog?
Yep, that's the dog they bought on the side of the road.
Nameless hand finder.
Yeah. So, May Swaisey is, like I said, played by Sheila Florence, who was born 1916, died 1991. So, let's see, 1916.
87?
She was 60 years old.
Wait.
Because the movie was filmed in 1976.
Oh, at the time of the movie. I'm like, she was way more than 60.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, at the time that the movie was filming...
Okay, she was 60.
She was 60 years old.
Okay.
So, Sheila Florence is top 4 on IMDb, and you always get a kick out of someone who doesn't have Mad Max as their number one. Her number one is Prisoner Cell Block H. She was on the show from 1979 to 1985. Over 400 episodes she was in. She played a character named Lizzie Birdsworth.
Wait, was Prisoner Cell Block H a soap opera? Like a daily show? Because she was on it for 6 years. So, you say 400 some odd episodes?
400 episodes.
That's more than once a week.
It was all about a women's prison. And I know we've mentioned Prisoner Cell Block H a lot.
But I didn't know it was about a women's prison.
Yeah, neither did I, because I never thought to look it up.
Yeah. Well, because so far, all of the actors that we've met have been men that have worked in Cell Block H.
Yeah.
Prisoner Cell Block H. So I had no reason, it just never came up before.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah,
right?
I assumed that it was a typical men's prison show.
So her number 1, obviously Prisoner Cell Block H. Her number 2 is Mad Max, where she plays May. Number 3 is the 1991 movie A Woman's Tale, where she played Martha. And number 4 is 1976's The Devil's Playground, where she played Mrs. Sullivan. Sheila Florence's other acting credits include Division 4, Homicide, Matlock Police. But her first acting credit on IMDb is a 1959 episode of Emergency. Over the course of her career, she racked up 36 different acting credits for her name. She was actually a key character on Prisoner Cell Block H. She was one of the main people on there and kind of was more of the comic relief. Interestingly enough, about that show, Prisoner Cell Block H, someone has gone and uploaded like all of the episodes to YouTube.
Oh!
So you can sit down and watch a playlist of Prisoner Cell Block H episodes.
I think that we should review some of those episodes for our hiatus.
Yeah, because I've been keeping meticulous notes of where people crop up based on their IMDb pages. And so we can go through and we can handpick episodes.
Yes, that have the actors
feature...
that we're familiar with now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Exactly. And then also on her list was the 1991 movie A Woman's Tale. I copied the IMDb plot summary here to my notes. It says, an uplifting and intimate look at the last days of an elderly cancer victim. The film is even more relevant as it was written specifically for the lead actress Sheila Florence, who was in fact dying of cancer as she created what is essentially a self-portrait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A Woman's Tale came out in 1991. She died in 1991. This is the last thing
oh my goodness.
that she did. And so I watched a trailer for it. The trailer doesn't give away too much. But one thing the trailer does do is point out that the movie got 4 AFI Award nominations. I think not either the nominations or it won. But yeah, it's, a heavy drama, so to speak.
Yes. So in the scene that we first see May, she's got both of her feet up on a box or a stool. And you can see that she's wearing leg braces of some kind, which Sheila Florence doesn't wear. They are part of her character as May.
Right.
And that was a choice, I assume, by George Miller. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. The crew commentary mentioned that they tried to sneak in little, I think they referred to them as deformities, but, little handicaps on each of the characters. Mm-hmm. Like Benny back in MFP headquarters had that horrible stutter. May has her leg braces on.
Charlie had the...
Yeah, Charlie had the electrolarynx. I mean, just these little things slipped in from George Miller's time working as a doctor. And as they were talking about this on the crew commentary, they actually mentioned that these leg braces kind of caused a little bit of trouble for Sheila Florence at one point because as they were walking across a field, she stepped in a rabbit hole and it broke her leg.
Yeah, that's serious.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. They did all these dangerous things. And we mentioned time and time again how they weren't necessarily following the rules and regulations of safety on set. They were just making things happen. And for the most part, people were fine.
Yeah.
But then Sheila, walking through a field, breaks her leg.
Steps in a random hole and ends up breaking her leg.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's the perils of... movie making, I guess. It goes back to, that horrible motorcycle crash that happened to the head of the stunt department.
Yes. And the original...
and the original actress who was meant to play Jessie.
Yes.
Yeah. So, stuff happens. You need to adapt to it, I guess. But so May's sitting there reading a book with her feet up. And as Jessie walks by, she calls out to her. She says, "Jessie, if you meet Benno down there, don't let him trouble you. He's only a baby."
And that's all she says. It's so cryptic. Mm-hmm. My first thought was, what sort of creature is Benno?
Yeah, because with a name like Benno...
it could be a dog. And to not tell Jessie, that this is a human being...
Yeah.
I think it does Jessie a bit of a disservice.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell on Jessie's face, she kind of says, "Thanks, May."
Yeah,
Or,
she's
"Sure,
a little, like, disconcerted.
Yeah, because...
I mean, maybe Jessie knows who Benno is.
Yeah.
Maybe someone has mentioned Benno in a context to understand that he's a human being.
Yeah.
But in this context, we have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he could be...
Could be a cat, could be...
Like, it's a farm. It could be, a particularly free-range horse or a cow.
Yeah.
Or an aggressive sheep or something like that.
Yeah.
Benno could be anything just because it's only a name. Benno. And
Yes.
a warning.
Right. Going along with a warning.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been helpful. Well, yes, it would have been helpful if we had known what sort of animal or human this person is. We learned that it's a human being, a grown man who is simple. But I feel like it's vague on purpose for us.
Yeah.
We know about as much as Jessie knows, which is more than Max knows and more than May knows about what happened to her. So perhaps if May had known that Jessie has genuine reason to be worried, then maybe she wouldn't have been so vague.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Benno, who's a large, simple man, is over in the woods. Don't let him bother you.
Yeah. You get the real sense, and we brought this up last time, that Max is definitely more familiar with this area than Jessie is.
Yes.
So it begs the question, has Jessie ever met Benno before? And I think the answer is no. I think Max probably has experience around Benno.
I don't think she has any idea that Benno is a person.
Yeah.
And that walking through the woods, if she hears somebody, she shouldn't be so worried.
Like, if she had just added a little bit of a qualifier, like, my boy Benno, or...
Yeah.
Some sort of other descriptor, some sort of adjective
Yes.
to describe him, just to give her, a sense of peace of mind when she starts hearing twigs snap or bushes rustle as she's walking through the woods.
So we don't know who Benno is. So as we're walking through the woods, we think it's the gang too. So we're right there with Jessie, and it gets very tense, and we'll, of course, talk about that tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. There are going to be some pretty tense minutes coming up. Also some pretty quiet minutes, because when Jessie says, "Sure, May," and starts walking.
Yeah, how long until there's any dialogue?
So Friday is quiet, Monday's quiet, Tuesday's quiet, Wednesday's quiet.
Oh, dear.
Well, I should say the first half of Wednesday is quiet. So
Okay. So we're going to have to bring to bear all of our best analyzing skills.
3.5 days without spoken dialogue.
Okay, we can do it.
A lot of my notes describe Jessie running.
Okay.
So there's that.
Okay, we can do this.
I gotta say, if we can handle Goose on his motorcycle, we can handle Jessie in the woods.
Yep. All right, is there anything else about this minute that we want to cover?
I've got nothing. It's gonna be another short one.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So, tomorrow starts the long walk through the woods to the beach. The nice thing about tomorrow is that we are going to spend one day in the woods and get to the beach. It's not like we're going to spend multiple days walking out to the beach, multiple days at the beach, multiple days walking back to the beach.
If I remember correctly, she gets out there just fine without much worry. So she at least gets to, enjoy her day.
Yeah.
And then, it doesn't all go to pieces until the walk home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's that to look forward to, I guess.
Yes.
In the meantime, our website is madmaxminute.com. You can follow us on Twitter at madmaxminute and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/madmaxminute. And while you're there, we have a listeners page that you can join up on. So just search for Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone and you will find us.
Thank you for joining us for Mad Max Minute number 64. We will see you tomorrow.
Motorbikes and leather men take me to the edge of the dream.